Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I'm Sunny Pancholi, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge sharing community. We have one such industry giant on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Mr. Nallu Tarun Kishore. He carries over 2 decades of international experience, marked by a trail of success and innovation across various functions and prominent global organizations. His illustrious career includes a noteworthy entrepreneurial journey, where he has played a pivotal role in the acquisition of his company, garnering recognition as one of the top 40 entrepreneurs in Singapore. His entrepreneurial journey has resulted in the establishment of a company celebrated as one of the top 5 startup disruptors in Southeast Asia. Currently, as a dynamic key account director for the APAC division of Coursera Inc., he brings unparalleled passion and intensity to his work, consistently demonstrating a commitment to excellence, with which he has been instrumental in establishing and leading the APAC team. From the outset, he has exceeded quotas while pioneering innovative models for account management, new business, upsell, and cross-sell. Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, Mr. Kishore.
Thank you, Sunny. Such a pleasure. Thank you for that warm welcome.
So to begin with, could you let our viewers know in brief about your career journey so far?
Sure. By qualification, I'm a chemical engineer, and I have done no work in chemical industry, but that's true for most of the professionals in the modern day. So just to kind of set the tone, I've always wanted to work in management. So right after engineering, I tried my hands at a few companies. So I started my life with banking. I did banking operations, was in the US for a short while, moved a bunch of operations back to India during the peak season of BPO boom in India. And post which that experience helped me understand that banking and many other organizations would require a deeper level of skills. So I went back to school at IIM Indore, post which I worked in organizations like Infosys, building their entire campus recruitment process, ensuring that I've modernized it using application tracking system and many other initiatives which are still running after 15 years. On top of that, moved to Deloitte to hone my own skill at consulting, learned the basics of consulting for about 3 years with strategy, business, and innovation groups, and then moved to Google eventually to set up their research function, a global research function supporting all of their 63 product areas. Post which I wanted to try my hand at starting an organization, which I did for 5.5 years. Set up our India entity, and then moved to Singapore to set up our Singapore entity. We eventually got acquired just before COVID. So took a mini break, and then I'm here with Coursera leading their entire sales operations that we started in 2020 in APAC. Today has grown to a much larger operation than what it was.
Mr. Kishore, thank you for the excellent start to this interview. And I must say, your career journey is truly inspiring.
Now, my pleasure. I've always pushed the boundaries. Don't like to be boxed. So trying something new has been the rhythm of everything I've done in my career so far.
Great. So continuing our conversation, our viewers would like to know, what do you regard as your biggest professional achievement and why?
Well, tough one when you've worked for 2 decades to pick one, but ideally, I would say it's the overall journey. I've tried my hands at practically running banking operations, so learned a lot about finance during the first part of my career. From there on, I moved to HR. I'm not a qualified HR person, but you don't have to be if you have truly the passion to drive and learn, and you're open to possibilities in your mind. So I've done that at Infosys. Then, of course, I wanted to push my professional boundaries. When you get into consulting, you're agnostic to sectors, you're agnostic to functions. There is a client, there are problems, you got to really think on your feet and be able to solve them. That experience really drove my understanding about business and outlook at large. And post which, like I said, in terms of the overall journey, I've always pushed the boundary and learned a little bit more about what I could do, which I never thought in the past. In this whole journey, the key highlight for me has been learning more about business, right from the way service industry works to specifically banks, on top of it, manufacturing companies. If you were to look at supply chain, you were to look at e-commerce, these are businesses which are new age, and the infusion of technology in each of these. For the love of coding, I cannot code, but I have always worked with people who can to create products and systems in place that we can use to make our lives easier. So that's been the highlight. It is, I wouldn't pick a single event. It's generally been that ability to learn continuously and be open to adaptability.
Amazing. That sounds really incredible. So building on to that, what are some principles, values, and ethics that you have lived by and that have been contributory to your professional success?
Sure. I come from a family of four in the sense my dad was an ex-serviceman from Indian Army. So I've always seen honesty and integrity as top priorities in our upbringing. We've heard stories right from a very young age. So those are hardlined into my life. I respect these two values a lot. I practice them every single day. And there have been stances that when you're honest and you're standing up for something, you need to be bold. So that's another addition that I've made in the past 10 years or so. And on top of that, the last one I would say is your ability to perceive. Some of these are not easy to practice. So those values, those four pillars that I live by are practically everything that I do stand on these four.
Great. So now that we have discussed your career journey, your professional pursuits, your roles and responsibilities, and your ethical values, let's dive into the subject of ESG and corporate governance. So here is my question to you, and a very obvious one.
Sure.
How and when did you develop an interest in ESG and corporate governance?
To be honest, I think in the last 8 years or so, prior to that, it was just general reading about what's changing, what is carbon footprint. It started more at a curiosity level where you're trying to learn a little bit more. But the business essence of ESG and the broad impression it can create on a business at large is something that I've really understood in the last 8 years through the journey of starting my own company and working with young entrepreneurs and innovative products. So a couple of examples, if I were to quickly touch upon, we worked with, during the time when I was running my company, we worked with these two organizations. One of which, it's called Kisan Raja. They used to develop a long-range CDMF phone-enabled product to help the Indian farmers who were managing a power outage in their rural part of India, which is true for over 600,000 villages in India. Right. The intent is to be able to run the water supply through turning on your motor and off the motor at a time when you don't have to travel to the farm, which usually was about 10 to 12 kilometers away in most cases. So very innovative product. And it has a lot of benefits, right? About 1,500 deaths were reported between 2008 to 2010 by multiple reasons, right? Farmers walking to the fields got attacked by animals, were killed by snakes, thieves, dacoits, all of those incidents which were reported. I'm assuming the number is much larger. So by using technology, we're actually solving a real life problem. And this was on the basis of IoT. This was on the basis of somebody holding a patent in that space, very passionate young gentleman who actually comes from the family of farming, the only one who went to IIT Chennai. So working with him was a very, very big honor that we had. We actually got to a point where we started working with him, and we got an award from NDTV in the year 2018 for this product in terms of a zero-cost marketing that we designed for them. So that was a very, very good exercise and experience for us. The second was on the other extreme, creating a sector that did not exist. We start talking about e-tourism in India And one company comes to mind, it's called Be Live. It's a Goa-based company. Both the founders are from there. Young, they used to be corporate professionals. They stepped out and started this company where you would have battery-driven cycles and you had guided tours across different parts of Goa. So the phrase that we came up with them was the ecotourism build up, and that is today they've grown into multiple cities, and they've really helped us understand waste management to energy efficient systems, EVs. How do you make a business out of it, and the overall understanding of ESG at large. So these were just two examples, but then the learning continues till date.
Great. So, Mr. Kishore, as an ESG and corporate governance expert, what values do you bring to the table?
Well, the same thing. First is deeper understanding of the subject. It is important that when we start something, it is relentless on the part of the founders, CXOs of organizations to understand the subject. There are very strong viewpoints that have been created. I've had the opportunity to get a few from Directors Institution to read in a concise manner, and of course the broader information that is available in the public domain. Once you read, then you're asking yourself the tough questions of how much of that is impacting my work and the work that my organization does. So that's a deeper understanding, which, of course, as you start talking to industry experts as well as people who are practitioners of ESG, you get a lot more detailed information. And the third layer, of course, is to adopt a part of that, which is important for your business, and really look at building out the overall business with genuinely making a difference.
Okay. Since we were talking about technology a few minutes back, let's dive deeper into this subject and know the impact of it on your professional landscape. So here is my question to you. What are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with changes in technology? That is part A. And what changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, big data, Web 3.0, etc.?
Sure. I mean, let me give you a very small example of how technology has changed our lives, and we did not even know about it till we started focusing on the pace of change. I remember when I was trying to teach my father how to use Uber, right, as an app. It's a good skill to have in the present day. So in that context, the first time I showed him the app and he was able to see the car moving, my dad's from Indian Army. He worked in artillery for many years. So the first thing he said was, "Oh, we've used this technology in the past." Right? And that's when you realize that many of these things were always there. What changed now in the last decade or two is the pace of change. The pace of change of these technologies entering our lives in a very non-invasive way, right? For example, many years ago, if you had to go watch a movie, you would have to plan. Somebody had to go stand in the line, buy the tickets, come back home. Then everybody used to get ready and you would go to a movie. So it was a long drawn process. Now you have apps, right? It's so easy to do many of these things. And these are small changes. When I moved to Singapore, I opened a bank account. I did not have to go to the bank, right? I was able to do the entire process without actually physically moving to a bank. And every country, every sector has a different pace of adoption, right? So first change, I'd say, is the pace of change of the overall technology and what it has done to our life. Second is our own ability to adapt ourselves to these changes. We are restricted by our experience. What that means is, if you're a CEO of an organization in manufacturing setup, you know your business really well, but you don't know the changes that are happening in the field of robotics or EVs or supply chain at a large level, unless you start talking to people in that space and understanding what these changes are. So your ability to adapt is not to go deep into each sector yourself and understand. It is to build a network which will help you get the high-level points and what it means to your business at a broad level. Third is, of course, the continuous change that all of us are subject to. We learn one skill and then it becomes almost agnostic, or it vanishes its value in less than 2 years, right? So therefore, you've got to be on the pace of continuous learning. I work for Coursera. That is my day job. We talk to organizations, institutions across the world about why continuous learning has become the best skill that you can have as a human being at this point in time. So yeah, these are few changes. Of course, it flows into any change, whether you talk about IoT or generative AI. The CEO of my organization actually spent immense amount of time in 2023 as an early adopter for generative AI, and he's now driven that learning to the entire organization as well. So all of us use ChatGPT and versions of it in our own work to understand change, because we are talking about it in our day-to-day conversations. Unless we have first-hand experience of using it, there's very little we can do to bring this to a client of ours. So it is important you manage your continuous learning on a daily basis and ensure that all the other pieces I spoke about you keep an eye on them.
Exceptional. And thank you so much for sharing such amazing insights into different subjects. So this brings us to the last question of the session. We are building a community of industry magnates. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. So what are your thoughts about these initiatives taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the team of World Development Corporation?
No, it's amazing to actually see somebody do this at scale, right? That was the first thing that amused me to start with. But as you get deeper, and I come from a background of running my own company, working with almost 282 organizations across 12 countries in terms of startups, building their business across different countries and so on and so forth. So setting up process of an organization, ensuring that we understand the laws locally in each of these countries, understanding what does that do to your business at large, understanding taxation, understanding governance rules, really opened up my mind. And to find all of that at a single forum is brilliant, to say the least. Right. And of course, I see both of them to be extremely passionate, driven, and super knowledgeable. You can talk to them. It's almost like you're talking to a personification of Companies Act around you. They go deep in their knowledge, they go wide in their experience, and that is very, very useful when you talk to them in pretty much everything that we've come across so far. So that's been my experience, and I just give a big 5-star to everything that we've heard from Directors Institute so far.
Great. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire future leaders. Thank you, Mr. Kishore, for joining us today. Wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute has unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds.
Now, thank you, Sunny. My pleasure, and thank you for doing this. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a nice day.